What up, Duval? Jordan Lugo here with a quick update for y'all on Todd McShay's mock draft 2.0 over at ESPN. You can go check it out right now at ESPN.com. Check out the full thing. But we're checking in with what Todd McShay has the Jaguars doing at 24 overall. These national mock draft guys, these big national draft pundits like Todd McShay, Mel Kiper, they're doing most of these picks in their mock drafts just based on what they're hearing from around the league. And not every pick has that level of insight to it, but I think it's valuable to take a look at what these guys who are so well connected are saying. And so we're going to do that right now. The Jaguars with the 24th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft. In Todd McShay's mock draft, they go Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, wide receiver out of Ohio State. I'll read to you Todd McShay's blurb, and then I'll break it down for you. The Jaguars' pass game took a huge step forward in Trevor Lawrence's second season, Todd McShay wrote. The Christian Kirk signing paid off, and Calvin Ridley, acquired at the deadline, should be a factor next season once he returns from suspension. But Lawrence probably still needs another pass catcher, especially because tight end Evan Ingram is a free agent, and we can't be sure what Ridley will bring after missing more than a year. Smith and Jigba is a tough evaluation, writes McShay. He caught 15 passes for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns in the 2021 season's Rose Bowl. One game, 15 passes, 347 yards, and 3 touchdowns, capping off a 1,606-yard campaign. McShay continued, but he had 2 catches in that game that were longer than his total yardage for the entire 2022 season, 43 yards, as a nagging hamstring injury limited him to 5 catches over 3 contests. JSN displays soft hands, precise route running, and good after-the-catch ability, and he could be a steal for Jacksonville if he falls here. I agree with a lot of what Todd McShay has said here. I think Jackson, Smith, and Jigba in this range makes a lot of sense. I think getting another pair of reliable hands, a guy who can run routes at a high level for Trevor Lawrence to make sure that you've got the talent that you need to execute at a high level week in and week out, drive in and drive out, makes sense. I like Jackson Smith and Jigba a lot. I don't think that the 2022 season where he was injured with the hamstring really gives me any negative vibe. Like, I don't think that makes this a tough evaluation, personally. I mean, yeah, the guy had an injury-plagued year. What did he do when he was healthy? I think that's what you go off of, right? And when he was healthy, he did look like, at times, the best receiver on the field at Ohio State. And the other guys that were on the field in 2021, you had frickin' Chris Olave, and Garrett, why am I drawing a blank on the kid's name? The other receiver out of Ohio State. And you also had Marvin Harrison Jr. on the field. Garrett Wilson, excuse me. New York Jets stud rookie wide receiver. I apologize, Garrett. But the point is, there was a ton of talent on that Ohio State offense at the receiver position. And there were games, stretches of the 2021 season, where Jackson Smith and Jigba was clearly operating at the highest level out of all of those guys on a consistent basis. And now, here's the truth of the matter. Jackson Smith and Jigba primarily operated out of the slot at Ohio State and had his best production out of the slot at Ohio State. He's not going to be a blazer in the 40-yard dash. He's not an elite athlete. He is a good athlete, and he has decent size. He's going to be about 6 foot, about 200 pounds. The knock on him is that he's not the elite athlete, that you don't know that he's going to be able to project to being an outside receiver at the next level. And why does that matter for the Jaguars? Well, you have Christian Kirk, who you already want to operate primarily from the slot. Do you want to add another guy in Jackson Smith and Jigba, who's also primarily going to be a slot guy based on what most people evaluate him as? Personally, I don't think he's going to be limited to only a slot role. Will that be his best role in the NFL? Probably. But when you talk about Doug Peterson and the way he can scheme things up, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba would be a home run for the Jaguars at 24 because, again, you're bolstering your offense. You're giving Trevor Lawrence a really reliable set of hands and a really good route runner, a guy who's going to be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there. And I think he's just going to really raise the floor and the ceiling of the Jaguars offense if that's the route they do go at 24 overall. Do I think that the Jaguars would make this pick? Honestly, probably not. Generally speaking, in the first round, Trent Baalke likes to go for traits guys. We've seen when he uses big-time draft capital, you see a lot of the traits. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to be a really, really good slot receiver at the next level. I think he's going to be a guy you can move around the formation and he's going to win. I don't know that he's going to take the top off the defense for you. I think that's fair to say, but he will block his ass off for you. He will, again, be where he's supposed to be when he's supposed to be there for his quarterback, and that's invaluable in my opinion. There's a lot of really talented pass catchers in this class. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is the safest one, to be quite frank. So I would be a fan of the pick, but would Trent Baalke go there at 24? I kind of doubt it. Not only because of his physical limitations, but the receiver position. I just don't really see the Jaguars going in that direction this high in the draft when they just traded for Calvin Ridley, when they just signed Christian Kirk, when they just signed Zay Jones. Like the Jaguars have invested a lot at the receiver position. I'm not sold on the fact that they're going to go out and take a receiver in the first round or really even in the second round. I would be more inclined to believe third round and after if the Jaguars are bringing a receiver in. But I would be in on it. I'm in on trying to create a superstar offense, on trying to give Trevor Lawrence the best group of weapons that you can get in the NFL. I think getting Jackson Smith-Njigba into Jacksonville would be a step in the right direction in that regard. So I'd be in on it. Love to know what y'all's thoughts are. Drop your comment or your thoughts in the comment section below. You can hit me up on Twitter also at Jordan DeLugo. Thank you so much for tuning in here to this quick Duval Daily update on Todd McShay's Mock Draft 2.0. Again, he has the Jaguars at 24 overall, taking Ohio State receiver Jackson Smith-Njigba.